At some point, working hard stops feeling like progress. It doesn't happen all at once. There's no clear moment where everything suddenly changes. No warning sign, no dramatic shift. It just slowly starts to feel different. At first, everything makes sense. You put in effort, you expect results. That's how it's supposed to work. Simple. You stay consistent, you show up every day, you trust the process even when it's slow, and for a while, the belief carries you. But then, something shifts. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and you are still doing the work, still showing up, still trying to believe that something will eventually click. But when you pause for a moment and really look around, nothing feels different. Nothing feels like it's moving forward. And that's when it starts. Not loudly, not in a way anyone else can see, just quietly. A question. It says longer than it should. You try to ignore it, but it keeps coming back. Am I actually moving forward or just staying busy? There are nights that feel longer than they should. Not because you're working, but because you are not. You are just lying there. Phone in your hand, scrolling but not really paying attention. You open the same apps, check the same notifications, refresh without expecting anything. Not because it matters that much, but because you are hoping something feels different this time. It doesn't. And the silence around you slowly fills up with thoughts. The kind you don't usually let yourself sit with. At first, it's random, then it becomes specific, then it becomes unavoidable. What if this doesn't work out? You don't say it out loud, you don't even fully accept it, but you hear it clearly. And once you hear it, it doesn't just disappear. This part is hard to explain because technically nothing is wrong. You are not failing, but you are not moving forward in a way you can see either. You are just in between. And the space feels uncomfortable in a quiet, instant way. From the outside, everything looks normal. You are working, you are trying, you have not given up, but inside, it feels repetitive. Like you are living in the same version of the day over and over again. Wake up, do the work, wait for something to change, repeat. And sometimes you just sit there, cursor blinking on the screen, knowing you should do something, but you don't even know where to start. So you try something, then second guess it, then change it, then go back again. Nothing feels certain. You start avoiding certain conversations, not because you don't care, but because you don't have anything new to say. So, how's everything going? You pause just for a second. Then you say, it's fine, even though you know it's more complicated than that. While you are trying to figure things out, life around you keeps moving. People you know are stepping into new phases, new jobs, new routines, a sense of stability, and you notice it. Not in a jealous way, just in a quiet moment where something feels slightly off. Like everyone else is moving with direction and you are still trying to find yours, and the thoughts slip in. Am I falling behind? You try to brush it off, tell yourself it doesn't matter. Everyone has their own timeline, but sometimes that thought stays longer than you want it to. This part feels heavier because it's not just about you anymore, it's about your family. Maybe they don't say anything directly, but you still feel it. Or maybe you have placed that pressure on yourself. You look at them, and a thought quietly forms. I really thought I'd be further by now. You imagine a version of yourself that's already figured things out, that already made life easier for them, that already became someone they can rely on without question. But right now, you are still trying to understand your own path, and the gap between where you are and where you thought you had been feels heavier than anything else. Doubt does not always come as a breakdown. It doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. It shows up in small, quiet moments, like when you pause before starting something because you are not fully sure anymore, or when you finish something and instead of feeling satisfied, you immediately question if it was even right. Is this actually going anywhere? What if I am wasting time? And the hardest part is there's no clear answer, no sign telling you to stop, no confirmation telling you to keep going. So you keep moving, even without certainty, even without confidence, not because you are sure, but because stopping feels odd. Even if it doesn't feel like progress, something is changing, not outside, inside. You react differently now. You don't panic as quickly, you don't rush into decision the same way. You pause, you think, you have learned how to sit with uncertainty, and that's not easy. Most people avoid that feeling. Most people distract themselves from it. But you didn't. You stayed. Even when it felt uncomfortable, even when it didn't feel rewarding. And that kind of growth doesn't show up instantly, but it builds something real, something steady. At some point, you realize something: hard work doesn't guarantee anything. It helps, it gives you a chance, but it doesn't promise results. And for a moment, that realization feels heavy because it removes certainty, it removes the simple belief that effort automatically leads somewhere. But it also gives you something else: clarity. Because now the question changes, it's no longer. Because now the question changes, there's no longer, will this definitely work? It becomes, am I willing to keep going even without guarantees? Some days you feel focused, clear, aligned. Other days you feel mentally drained, not physically, mentally. Like your mind has been carrying too much for too long, and forcing motivation doesn't fix that. Pretending everything is okay doesn't fix that. You can admit, this is harder than I expected. I don't fully know what I am doing yet. That kind of honesty matters because it keeps you grounded more than pretending ever will. Most people don't quite suddenly. They don't wake up one day and decide it's over. They drift slowly. They try a little less, care a little less, show up a little less, until one day they are no longer connected to what they once wanted. That's the real danger, not failure. Drifting. So even if you feel unsure, don't disappear. Do something small, even if it feels insignificant. Stay connected. You don't need everything figured out right now. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need certainty. You just need to stay. Stay in the process. Stay in the effort. Stay long enough to see what happens next. even if it feels slow, even if it feels unclear. Because sometimes clarity doesn't come first, sometimes it shows up after you have been moving for a while.